As a kid, I always had one big gripe with the animated Pokemon TV show. Ash. I used to not like him. Why? Because I thought he was a loser, and Gary had the right idea. Now that I'm older, I've gained more of an appreciation for the character, and while recently rewatching the first season of the show, I started to understand why Ash's story required him to lose. Let's go over Ash's first big loss at the Pokemon League, ask ourselves why Ash had to lose, and gain a better understanding of what it truly means to be the very best, like no one ever was. Chapter 1: Red vs. Ash. So, in order to understand why I disliked Ash as a kid, we have to understand my childhood perspective of him. Ash Ketchum is a loose adaptation of the protagonist of the original Pokemon video games, who is named Red. Red does not speak any lines of dialogue while you're playing as him. Like many other silent video game protagonists, Red is a stand-in for you, the player, and he is intentionally made a blank slate in order for you to better see yourself as him. There is one major character trait everyone associates with Red as opposed to Ash. Red is a winner. See, Pokemon games are easy, even for younger audiences. And on an average playthrough, even the least experienced player will lose few battles. This perception of Red as a winner is only exacerbated in the second Pokemon games that take place 3 years after the first, and constantly talk about this super awesome legendary champion guy who beat up all the villains. And that game's secret final boss is Red himself, who has the highest leveled Pokemon team in the game. A character like Red works well for a video game that's aimed at all ages. When we play video games, we want to feel like a champion, and video games are designed to be beaten, so the player character always wins at some point as long as you keep playing. Compare this to TV shows and movies where a protagonist doesn't have to succeed in order for the narrative to be meaningful. In fact, a protagonist who wins and succeeds too often and with little resistance is often seen as boring. The Pokemon anime does not reflect its video game story counterparts too much at all. While the names of the locations and the names of some characters align with the games, not much happens in the anime that also happens in the games. Ash does not defeat the boss of Team Rocket. He can barely deal with their weakest underlings. Ash does not catch every Pokemon. He barely captures even a fraction of the 150 Pokemon that existed at the time, but Ash does, however, get all 8 gym badges and challenges the Pokemon Leagues. But unlike in the games, he fails. And since Ash isn't a video game protagonist, he doesn't get the privilege of going back to the last save point and trying the battle again. But why does Ash fail to become the champion? What happens? Chapter 2: Ash the Procrastinator. Once Ash receives his 8th gym badge, it is now time for him to compete in the Pokemon League. Unlike the video games where you can just waltz into the building and fight the toughest trainers in the world 24 hours a day, in the anime, the Pokemon League is an actual yearly competition of trainers. Ash gets his final badge just 2 months before the league. There are 10 entire episodes between badge 8 and Ash's arrival at the Pokemon League. These 10 episodes are some of my favorite in the series. What makes these episodes so special is the looming shadow of the Pokemon League competition hanging over Ash's head. In multiple episodes, Ash is reminded that he needs to train vigorously in order to compete in the league, and Ash procrastinates heavily during this time, most notably in choosing to go on a little vacation to the Seafoam Islands and by being a part of a movie production and attending the premiere. That means that in just 2 months, while this guy is supposed to be training for the competition of a lifetime, he took 2 vacations. Ash, you're 10 years old and you don't go to school. Your life is a vacation. Upon rewatching these episodes as an adult, it's no wonder Ash fails the league. But as a kid, I didn't understand the procrastination. I just thought Ash deserved to win because he was Ash. His hat kind of looks like the hat of the guy in the game. He has to win! But as a kid, I wasn't just mad at Ash losing on his own. I was mad at how he lost, because he lost with who was, at the time, my favorite team member of his, Charizard. It always irked me as a kid that Ash used unevolved Pokemon. When I played the games, I always evolved my Pokemon to their highest stage. Now, Pikachu, I get keeping unevolved. Raichu just wouldn't really fit on Ash's shoulder. But I got so tired of seeing Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and Pidgeotto as Ash got more and more badges. It's like, these guys have got to be ready to evolve by now, right? Now, the reason that these Pokemon stayed unevolved is because of marketing. These smaller forms were just more popular than their more monstrous big brothers. And also, Ash having a team of titans like I had in the games really wouldn't have made much sense and would have undermined Ash's underdog characteristics. There was one exception. In the first season, Ash got to possess one cool Pokemon, and it was one of the coolest Pokemon of them all. Much like how Ash possessed the smaller Pokemon for marketing reasons, he possessed Charizard also for marketing reasons. Unlike Squirtle and Bulbasaur, Charmander's final evolution is the more recognizable character. To this day, Charizard TCG cards are the most valuable of all. Look how many I have. Did I only add that detail so I could show off my Charizard cards? No, I have shinies too. Now, while giving Ash Charizard was best for the branding of Pokemon, it presented some issues story-wise. Charizard just seems too strong compared to Ash's more adorable team members. So, for the sake of balance, the writers gave Charizard one defining character trait: disobedience. In the Pokemon video games, there's this concept where if a Pokemon that was not originally obtained in your game was given to you at too high a level, it would often refuse to use attacks in battle. Whether or not a Pokemon listened to you depend on how many gym badges you had, with each consecutive gym badge allowing higher levels to be used. Now, technically, Charizard should have listened to Ash during the pivotal Pokemon League battle. Even though Charmander wasn't originally captured by Ash, at this point in the series, Ash does have all 8 gym badges, which would mean in the games that all Pokemon would obey him unconditionally. Maybe Charizard deep down knows that Misty and Brock just gave Ash his badges and he didn't battle for them, so he doesn't consider Ash to have all 8 badges. Or maybe the show uses different rules for whether or not a Pokemon listens to you. Story-wise, the reason that Charizard doesn't listen to Ash is clear. He doesn't take enough time to train it. He goofed off, he procrastinated, and he erroneously believed that just because he had a fire-breathing dragon, he would instantly become champion. So, because Ash was unable to overcome his character flaw, Charizard refuses to obey, and he is disqualified from the match. While 8-year-old me absolutely hated not seeing Charizard fight for Ash in this episode, the older, more mature me understands that this lesson is what's truly important. We've already gone over the important lesson of not procrastinating before important moments in life, but Ash's time at the Pokemon League also teaches us another lesson. It's okay to not be number 1. It's an honor to just compete. See, while Ash lost, I think it's important to understand that he placed top 16. Him getting a decent placement, but not top placement, is a more meaningful conclusion to his Season 1 story. While he made some mistakes like not training his team enough, he still had the drive and the attitude to go out and compete. And when he does lose, he takes it like a champ and gives his opponent a handshake. It's too bad my younger self was too wrapped up with the idea of being number 1 to truly appreciate that. Back then, I still wanted to see a more video game faithful adaptation of the Pokemon protagonist. I wanted to see someone who goes through and beats everybody. Eventually, I got my wish, and it wasn't what I expected. Quick interruption, then back to the video. Did you know I cover the Pokemon games too? Check out my gaming channel, The Game Cubicle. I just did a video where I smuggled Ultra Balls into Pokemon Emerald's Battle Pyramid. Want to see how I did it and how it changed the game? Link in the description. Chapter 3, Pokemon Origins. There's this mini-series that came out a little while back called Pokemon Origins. This 4-episode saga details the journey of Red. The story of this series is similar to the story of the games. In it, we see Red defeat Team Rocket, become champion, and even catch all 150 Pokemon that were available in the base Pokemon Red and Blue games. When I first watched this, I thought it was exactly what I wanted in a Pokemon series. Why couldn't this have been the anime, I said at the time? It's clear to me now that Pokemon Origins was made for no other reason than to showcase the original game's greatest moments and advertise Mega Evolution by adding Mega Charizard X to the Mewtwo battle. It succeeded in those things and little else. Like I said earlier, Red is an extension of the player. He's an intentional blank slate that you can put your own personality onto. Make him a TV character, and all you're left with is the blank slate. This isn't to say that Pokemon Origins Red has no character development at all. We do see him fail at times, we see him get stronger, and we see him grow closer with his Pokemon, but he's just a little more tame than the bombastic, cocky Ash that I've come to appreciate. It's also just a bit weird to see the video game world adapted so faithfully. I actually find myself preferring the creative liberties the regular anime takes. This especially reigns true for the Pokemon League battles. To reflect the video game boss rooms, these are just enclosed spaces where the fights happen. This doesn't work for a TV show at all. The stadiums where Ash fights in the Pokemon League are much more fitting for the gravitas of these final battles. I used to complain about how the anime was nothing like the games, which I now realize is a ridiculous complaint because they are such different mediums. If anything, now I applaud the anime creators for being able to strike such a great balance between telling a meaningful story and keeping just enough of the base elements from the games that we recognize them. All in all, the reason Pokemon Origins fails to be compelling where Ash's story is compelling is for the simple fact that Ash is relatable. We've all thought we had everything in the bag and then we've all made poor decisions, we've all procrastinated, and we've all failed at some point. So that's why Ash needed to fail the Pokemon League. Maybe he didn't need to fail it, 8 times before he finally won? I don't know, I haven't watched all the seasons. It's to my understanding that people really think he deserved to win in Gen 4, but as of Gen 1, it was clear that he wasn't the very best yet. But he could be someday, and you could be too. But hey, if you get top 16, that's alright too. Hey, if you like this video, maybe you'd like to see this other video right here. Or check out one of my Pokemon game analysis videos on my other channel, The Game Cubicle, right here. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.